tanks collapsing into rivers. In July 2016, a significant event unfolded as a World War II-era T-34 Russian tank was extracted from the depths of the Don River in Russia. This heavy Soviet Union tank, weighing approximately 30 tons, had found its way into the riverbed while attempting to traverse a temporary bridge. T-34 tanks, recognized as formidable war machines, played a crucial role for the Soviet Union during the war. Initially discovered by divers in April 2015, the tank couldn't be promptly retrieved due to concerns that it might contain the remains of soldiers who had lost their lives during the war. Executing a meticulous operation, crews utilized a specialized recovery vehicle to hoist the tank from its submerged location, lying about 23 feet below the river's surface. Following a thorough cleaning and restoration process, the tank was slated to find a new home at Patriot Park, situated in the Moscow Oblast region of western Russia. This relocation aimed to honor the historical significance of the T-34 tank and contribute to the preservation of wartime artifacts. Civil War relics in South Carolina. In a river cleanup project targeting toxic tar in the Confederate River in South Carolina, a remarkable discovery unfolded. Over 100 Confederate Civil War relics emerged from the riverbed. Among the retrieved items were cannonballs, sword parts, and even a wagon wheel. The process also involved the careful removal and controlled detonation of unexploded munitions. The intriguing question of why these artifacts found their way into the river leads back to a strategic move during the Civil War. At a certain juncture, the Union Army, led by William T. Sherman, was operating in the area. In an effort to demoralize the Confederate military during the war's final years, they deliberately disposed of weapons and crucial items belonging to the Confederacy into the river. The denial of access to these resources left the Confederate military ill-equipped for the ongoing conflict. Now, with the relics recovered, the plan is to meticulously restore and showcase them. The artifacts are destined for exhibition at the South Carolina Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum in Columbia, South Carolina, a fitting tribute to the historical significance of the region. South Carolina holds a pivotal role in the Civil War, as it was the state where the conflict began in 1861. Notably, South Carolina was the first state to secede from the Union in 1860, and the attack on Fort Sumter in Charleston ensued, driven by Confederate forces demanding the fort's evacuation. The relics in the river, possibly a symbolic payback, add another layer to the complex historical narrative surrounding this significant period in American history. Civil War relics in Tennessee. While strolling along the Mississippi River near Memphis, Tennessee, a gentleman named Riley Bryant stumbled upon an intriguing artifact, an old belt buckle. The recent drought in the region had unveiled a trove of Civil War-era relics, attracting the attention of avid treasure hunters. In the course of his exploration, Riley unearthed metal ammunition box plates dating back to the Civil War era. Operating under the moniker Relic Riley on TikTok, Riley, with a substantial following of over 400,000 enthusiasts, passionately engages in artifact hunting. Armed with a metal detector, he traverses diverse locations in pursuit of historical treasures. His TikTok channel boasts an impressive 7 million views, with a particular discovery in Memphis amassing over 4 million views. The enigma surrounding how these items found their way into the river adds an extra layer of intrigue into Riley's discoveries. Memphis, a site of significant naval battle during the Civil War in 1862, witnessed a clash between Union and Confederate vessels on the Mississippi River. The outcome was a decisive defeat for the Confederacy. While it remains uncertain, these artifacts may originate from vessels involved in the battle that sank, offering a tantalizing connection to a pivotal moment in history. Hunger stones. We can learn a lot about how our ancestors used to cope with extreme weather by looking at hunger stones. The oldest ones in Europe are found in Czechia, under the Elbe River near the border to Germany. Usually under the water surface, when the stones begin to emerge during decreased river levels, they give foreboding messages to those who find them. The stones were used to warn people of bad harvests caused by lack of water and drought, which would usually lead to a food shortage. This is why they're often referred to as hunger stones. One of the stones in the Elbe River has messages on it that date back all the way to 1616. Any older messages have since been washed away and eroded away by the current, but it's thought that they could have dated back many centuries before. Situated under the Tiers Bridge, a message left in 1904 reads, "If you see me, weep." Truly an unsettling message for an unknowing person to find. Not all of the messages are doom and gloom though. Some chose to handle the situation with humor, as one message replies to another from 1984 with a poem that reads, "Don't cry girl, don't fret. When it's dry, just spray your field wet." What message would you leave on a hunger stone for future generations to discover? Let us know in the comments. Panzer tank in a Polish river. In a recent discovery, a German Panther tank, which had rested at the bottom of a Polish river for nearly 80 years, was successfully recovered and touted as being worth a substantial sum. Residing in the Charna-Nida River during World War II, the Panther tank played a crucial role in assisting damaged or stuck tanks by providing towing capabilities. Renowned for its robust armor and reliability, the Panther was a stalwart asset during the wartime operations. Remarkably scarce today, these tanks hold significant value among collectors and museums. The Panther, found in Poland, though in a state of disrepair, carries considerable worth. Notably, a similar Panther tank in better condition fetched a staggering $16 million at an auction in Germany a few years ago. The intriguing mystery surrounding how this tank ended up at the riverbed unfolds against the backdrop of World War II events. It's believed that during the 1940s, as the advancing Soviet army posed a threat, the Germans sought to escape the area. Mistakenly perceiving the frozen river as a safe passage, they attempted a crossing, only to discover the perilous reality of the situation. KV-1 tank in a Russian river. In the waters of the Neva River near St. Petersburg, Russia, a Soviet KV-1 tank from World War II was discovered. The tank underwent a meticulous examination to ensure the absence of human remains, a precaution often taken with such finds. Fortunately, no remains were found, but the examination revealed the presence of artillery shells on board, necessitating a careful removal process. Subsequently, these shells were safely detonated in a controlled environment. The KV-1 tank, a formidable war machine weighing 50 tons, played a crucial role in the Soviet-German conflict during World War II. Renowned for its robust armor, these tanks were formidable forces on the battlefield, with only 148 ever constructed by the Soviets. During the era of the tank's use, St. Petersburg bore the name of Leningrad. In August 1942, the city faced a German invasion, leading to the infamous Siege of Leningrad, an 872-day ordeal that claimed the lives of approximately 650,000 residents. The overall toll on the Soviet lives surpassed 1 million. The circumstances surrounding how the KV-1 tank ended up in the riverbed remains a mystery. Plans were set in motion to transport the tank to a restoration facility, where efforts would be made to return it to its former glory. Once restored, the tank was slated to become a key exhibit at the Museum of the Battle for Leningrad, commemorating the historical significance of this tumultuous period in the city's past. Cannon in New York. In 1962, while searching for old wine bottles at the bottom of the St. Lawrence River, divers stumbled upon a remarkable find: a 12-foot-long British cannon. Submerged 35 feet below the surface, this massive artifact weighed nearly 6,000 pounds. Motivated by the prospect of selling it to a potential buyer, the divers resolved to extract it from the river. Upon successfully retrieving the cannon, it was revealed to be remarkably well preserved, dating back to pre-1714. It featured a Tudor rose crest adorned with an arrow. The divers, eager to understand its historical significance, reached out to the Smithsonian, which identified a similar style found in the United States. The discovery took place near Oswego, New York, a location steeped in history with two prominent forts, Fort Oswego and Fort Ontario. These forts played pivotal roles from the French and Indian War through the War of 1812. While speculation suggested a potential connection between the cannon and the forts, concrete evidence remained elusive. The cannons, unearthed by the divers, were subsequently showcased at the Fort Ontario Historic Site, offering a tangible link to the region's rich military past. Remarkably, this initial find in 1962 marked the beginning of a series of discoveries as the same divers continued to unearth additional cannons from the depths of the St. Lawrence River. Each subsequent find, like its predecessor, found a place of honor at the Fort Ontario Historic Site, contributing to the narrative of the area's historical significance. Confederate cannon in North Carolina. In 1977, a notable discovery unfolded near Hamilton, North Carolina, as 2 cannons and 7 gun carriage wheels were retrieved from the Roanoke River. These artifacts originated from Fort Branch, a strategic location utilized by the Confederates during the Civil War. Faced with dire circumstances in 1865, Confederate soldiers at the fort made the strategic decision to dispose of the cannons and other items by pushing them into the Roanoke River. The salvage operation of these historical items was carried out by the North Carolina Division of Archives and History, with additional assistance from students at a local university. Historical records from that time indicated varying estimates, suggesting that anywhere from 5 to 17 cannons had been deliberately submerged in the river. The decision to discard the cannons rather than deploy them into battle with another unit intrigued researchers of that era. This episode serves as a poignant testament to the challenging circumstances faced by the Confederacy during the final stages of the Civil War, offering a glimpse into the strategic choices made by soldiers as they navigated the complexities of wartime logistics. World War II plane in Brazil. In 2005, Brazilian officials unveiled the discovery of a World War II-era plane submerged in a river in the Curias do Araguari region. Although the specific make of the plane was not disclosed, its retrieval was prompted by an individual spotting the protruding propeller and engine from the water. Following the discovery, efforts were undertaken to identify the aircraft. During World War II, the United States sold planes to various nations, including Brazil, which had acquired aircraft as part of post-war transactions. The circumstances leading to the plane's crash into the river were not reported, and any information regarding the potential occupants or victims aboard remained undisclosed. The recovery of this wartime relic from the river added another layer to the historical narrative, leaving questions about its past and the events that led to its submersion. Revolutionary War cannons in Savannah. In its endeavor to deepen the Savannah River, the city of Savannah, Georgia, enlisted the services of a dredging company, leading to an unexpected historical discovery. A total of 19 cannons were unearthed during the project, initially presumed to be remnants from the Civil War. However, upon thorough examination, researchers determined that these cannons were associated with 2 British ships, the HMS Savannah and the HMS Venus, which sank around 1779 in the Savannah River during the Revolutionary War. The sinking of these ships occurred amid the Battle of Savannah, a pivotal engagement during which the British secured control of the region. This battle witnessed a unified yet unsuccessful attack by colonists and their French allies. Men of color played a significant role in this conflict, with freed individuals fighting for the colonies and men from Saint Dominique, now Haiti, supporting the French cause. The Battle of Savannah stood as one of the war's bloodiest clashes, resulting in approximately 1,000 casualties. The British maintained control over Savannah until the war's conclusion. Although plans were underway to clean and exhibit the discovered cannons, a question of ownership arose. The state of Georgia, the U.S. federal government, and the British government all asserted claims. Presently, collaborative efforts are in progress to reach an agreement for the exhibition of these cannons, with the current plan aiming for their display at the Savannah History Museum. This discovery not only adds to the city's historical tapestry, but also underscores the diverse and interconnected aspects of the Revolutionary War.
100,000-year-old mammal bones. During a fishing trip with her dad in western Russia in 2023, a young girl named Maryam Mirsaitova spotted several unusual objects near the Oka River that had been exposed by a recent landslide. The father-daughter duo snapped some photos and sent them to experts, who identified 2 of the items as a knee joint and tibia bone belonging to a woolly mammoth. Researchers believe the bones belong to a full-grown specimen that lived around 100,000 years ago. According to Live Science, Woolly mammoths first appeared among northerly latitudes in Europe and Asia around 700,000 years ago. They started to go extinct around 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age due to habitat and food loss caused primarily by climate change. Human hunting may also have been a factor in the woolly mammoth's disappearance. The last remaining population on Russia's Wrangel Island died out around 4,000 years ago. Given mammoths' vast numbers throughout modern-day Russia, it's not uncommon for people to find the animal's fossilized and mummified parts, especially in Siberia. Remains of other Ice Age fauna are also frequently found throughout the country's frigid north. In addition to mammoth bones, the collection of objects found by Maryam included a vertebra that most likely belonged to a steppe bison. This ancestor of the modern-day European bison and American bison lived in Europe, Asia, and North America between 2.6 million and 11,700 years ago. Maryam's findings also include an animal bone that researchers are working to identify. Another recent mammoth discovery happened nearly halfway around the world in Florida's Peace River, where fossil enthusiast John Kreitzolis found a huge mammoth jaw that he initially mistook for a log. Estimated to be at least 10,000 years old, it was discovered near the city of Arcadia during a fossil hunting expedition. Kreitzolis said he plans to take the fossilized mandible to experts, who will clean it up and analyze it to determine its age and the type of mammoth it belonged to. A long-lost island of gold. During the earliest known days of international maritime trade, the Straits of Malacca functioned as a commercial link between the East and the West. Starting as early as the 7th century, trade along this vital waterway was controlled by a wealthy and powerful port city called Srivijaya. Located on a small island, this thriving ancient metropolis was ruled by a succession of rich and powerful kings until it fell to India's Chola dynasty in the year 1025. Trading at Srivijaya continued for 2 more centuries, but the city's influence and culture gradually declined and eventually slipped into obscurity. Today, there are almost no remaining traces of Srivijaya. In recent years, however, possible traces of the seemingly mythical city have started to turn up in the Musi River in modern-day Indonesia. While no archaeological excavations have been carried out, civilian divers have recovered dozens of objects, including figurines, Buddhist statues, temple bells, tools, ceramics, coins, jewelry, wine jugs, musical instruments, sword hilts, and other items. Many of these artifacts are made from gold and precious gems, testifying to the vast wealth that once defined the area. And while it hasn't been proven, these discoveries strongly suggest that the relics come from Srivijaya. Unfortunately, many, if not most, of these objects are being sold on the informal market, making them unavailable for professional study. Without any official scientific analysis, it may prove impossible to determine the origins of the items that are being found. Researchers are now racing against the clock to get their hands on some of these objects so they can take a closer look. Aside from these artifacts, there's little physical evidence of the former city, aside from a handful of brick temples and inscriptions. Being able to examine some of the newly found items in depth would offer experts an unprecedented glimpse into the long-lost culture that once controlled trade along the shore of what is now the city of Palembang. If you found an artifact that could make you rich on the illegal market, but would have a limited reward if you turned it over to the authorities, would you do the right thing, or would you be tempted to sell it for a maximum profit? Let us know in the comments below. Civil War relics. It's not all that unusual for workers to find Civil War-era artifacts throughout the American South. One of the biggest collections uncovered in recent years came during a major cleanup of South Carolina's Congaree River. The haul consisted of hundreds of items that were dumped into the river over a 2-day period, including bullets, cannonballs, and swords. According to local station WLTX, the items were most likely discarded in February 1865, as Union General William T. Sherman's forces descended upon the city of Columbia. The discoveries are fascinating but not surprising, according to program manager Sean Norris, who told Live Science that previous investigation had hinted at the presence of Civil War-era artifacts. He estimated the number of musket rounds collected at the site as being in the hundreds, if not thousands, and said that the haul includes numerous different kinds of cannonballs and other unexploded ordnance. Sherman's occupation of Columbia was successful but short-lived, even though Confederate forces evacuated the region. The small number of remaining Confederate soldiers and civilians gathered into mobs and plundered businesses, warehouses, and other buildings. By the time the mayor surrendered, most of the city had burned to the ground. Invading Union troops dumped the seized munitions into the Congaree River to prevent them from falling back into Confederate hands. The discarded supplies included 26,000 pounds of gunpowder, over 1 million ball cartridges, thousands of bayonets and sabers, and other miscellaneous equipment, including tents and backpacks. As of November 2023, Norris and his team were in the process of continuing to examine the site, which may eventually be added to the National Register of Historic Places. CSS Georgia wreck. In recent years, divers raised the wreck of wooden Civil War-era Confederate warship CSS Georgia from the Savannah River. Constructed in 1862, the 250-foot-long vessel was designed to defend the city of Savannah. The ship was built with $115,000 in funding from a club of a group of merchants' wives who called themselves the Ladies' Gunboat Society, who collected donations for the project from benefactors across Georgia. Despite its solid financial backing, the ship failed to serve its intended purpose. Its steam engines were too weak to propel it through the Savannah River's powerful tidal waters, so the Confederate Navy anchored it upstream and used it as a floating battery. Confederate forces scuttled the Georgia in 1864 after receiving word that Union General William T. Sherman's troops were advancing on the city. The wreck was rediscovered in 1968, but salvaging efforts didn't begin for another 45 years. By then, much of the ship was destroyed, but salvage crews still managed to raise numerous fascinating artifacts, including 4 cannons, more than 130 unexploded cannonballs, some engine parts, an intact propeller, and siding. The ship's remains were pulled from the water in 10,000-pound sections, measuring roughly 4 by 24 feet each. Experts are studying the retrieved portions of the Georgia to learn more about Confederate shipbuilding practices, which involved a different approach and techniques than the more industrialized North. Tamar River Ship Graveyard. An estimated 1,000 shipwrecks fill the waters in and around the Australian island of Tasmania. At least 14 of them can be found in the Tamar River in the state's northern region, an area nicknamed the Burial Ground. The vessels were deliberately scuttled in a line between the 1920s and 70s in an effort to enhance the water flow in the river, which is notorious for its silt buildup. The Tamar River Ship Graveyard is just one of numerous projects that the Australian government poured large amounts of money into in an effort to resolve the silt problem, which has earned the waterway a reputation for being a river that flows upside down. Most of the vessels that make up the so-called burial ground are wooden, and the collection includes a 3-masted sailing ship called the Zalatur. Crews burned the wrecks to the waterline and submerged them in hopes that they would divert the river's current eastward. Whether or not the project was a success remains a hotly debated topic to this day, and either way, the barrier was not meant to last forever. Eventually, the hulls rusted away, the wood collapsed, and the river's current overpowered what's left of the vessels, which represent just a fraction of the estimated 115 wrecks that were discarded throughout Tasmania's waterways between the early 19th and late 20th centuries. Centuries-old cargo ship. Around 400 years ago, a cargo ship ran aground near the mouth of Germany's River Trave while carrying a shipment of lime. It was quickly buried in a layer of fine mud, which protected it from its oxygen-rich surroundings for centuries to come. Authorities rediscovered the forgotten vessel during a routine sonar survey of the region in 2020. Measuring somewhere between 66 and 82 feet long, the ship may have been a single-masted cargo vessel called a galliot. Its name and country of origin are unknown, but experts believe it was one of countless 17th-century ships that traveled to and from the Hansa region. which dominated Europe's trading industry in the North and Baltic Seas. Known as the Hanseatic League, this region was made up of market towns and merchant guilds in northern Germany and elsewhere throughout the continent. Very few Hanseatic-era ships have survived into modern times. Most were destroyed by the elements and/or eaten by shipworms. The recently discovered vessel is a rare exception, owing to the silt covering that protected it for hundreds of years. Divers found around 150 barrels filled with quicklime, which was a popular construction material at the time. It was mostly sourced from somewhere in Scandinavia, according to maritime archaeologist Fritz Jürgens, who told Live Science that the lime probably came from central Sweden or northern Denmark. The cargo was most likely en route to Lübeck in northern Germany, where quicklime was in high demand due to the area's lack of natural limestone sources. Researchers uncovered a letter dated to 1680, containing a request for some cargo to be recovered from a ship that had run aground in the river. They believe the message is referencing the recently discovered ship, which was built with trees that were felled during the 1650s, and are planning to raise the wreck in the near future in hopes of maintaining its astonishingly intact state. An ancient Roman port. In 2021, archaeologists discovered a vast trove of Roman artifacts in the River Wear near the English city of Sunderland. The findings included 5 stone anchors, 4 of which were made from locally sourced stone, nails, a stone map, sharpening tools, a brooch, and some Roman coins. 4 of the anchors represented types that are typically only found at sea, and which had only been found in a river environment in England on one previous occasion. Speaking with BBC News, underwater archaeologist Gary Bankhead explained that the seemingly out-of-place anchors each had a single hole. They resemble a stone anchor that was found in Dorset alongside some Mediterranean pottery dating back to sometime between 100 BC and 100 AD, a time period that Bankhead says corresponds nicely with the Romans in northern Britain. He believes the site may represent a small Roman-era port, wharf, bridge, or landing area where seafaring ships once unloaded their cargo into smaller boats, which then transported the goods along rivers to their final destinations. Evidence suggests that the site may have been occupied as early as 2,000 years ago, and in Bankhead's words, its importance cannot be overstated. The discoveries came following roughly 40 years of excavation work, which was carried out with the help from members of the local community. 6. The Christ of the Abyss. The Christ of the Abyss, or Il Cristo degli Abissi in Italian, is a remarkable submerged bronze statue of Jesus Christ that resides beneath the waters of the Mediterranean Sea. It's specifically located off the picturesque Italian Riviera between Camogli and Portofino near San Frutoso. This awe-inspiring statue stands as a symbol of peace, offering a blessing with its head and hands raised toward the heavens. Crafted by the skilled hands of sculptor Guido Galletti, the original bronze statue was placed in its aquatic home on August 22, 1954, at a depth of approximately 56 feet, or 17 meters. And amazingly, it stands 8 feet, 2.5 meters tall beneath the waves. The inspiration for this extraordinary sculpture came from Duilio Marcante, an Italian diving instructor, and the statue was later dedicated to his memory. Its location in the Mediterranean Sea is significant as it's situated near the spot where Dario Gonzatti, the first Italian to use scuba gear, tragically lost his life in 1947. Over the years, the Christ of the Abyss encountered the challenges of corrosion and the encroachment of crustaceans, prompting its removal from the sea for a comprehensive restoration in 2003. And during this restoration, the statue's detached hand, likely separated by an anchor, was replaced. The statue was then eventually returned to its aquatic sanctuary on July 17, 2004, with a new base. The Christ of the Abyss, however, isn't confined to its Mediterranean home. 2 other bronze replicas were cast from the original mold. One found its place in Granada on the coastline of St. George's in 1961. presented as a gift by the Navy of Genoa to express gratitude for the rescue of the Italian vessel MV Bianca C, which was destroyed by a fire in St. George's Port. The third replica from the same mold was shipped to the United States and unveiled in 1962 at the Underwater Society of America's convention, which was held at the Palmer House Hotel in Chicago. On August 25, 1965, this replica was submerged in approximately 25 feet, or 8 meters of water off the coast of Key Largo, Florida, not far from dry rocks. This sacred statue continues to bless the waters, reminding us of the beauty that can be found beneath the waves and the message of peace it symbolizes. Before we continue, if you are joining us for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button to unlock a treasure trove of incredible videos. And don't keep your thoughts to yourself. Drop a comment below and tell us what content you'd like to see next. 5. Moon engine rockets. In an extraordinary feat of exploration and recovery, Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos, through his Bezos Expeditions Venture Fund, embarked on a mission to salvage components from the enormous F-1 rocket engines used in the historic Apollo 11 mission. These engines had remained concealed beneath the Atlantic Ocean's depths off the coast of Florida for more than 40 years, immersed in the ocean's abyss since their last fiery launch on July 16, 1969, when they propelled Apollo 11's Saturn V launch vehicle to the moon. These engines represented an essential part of space history. Bezos initiated this endeavor with the intention of bringing one or more of the F-1 engines back to the surface for exhibition. Then, after more than a year of meticulous planning, the Bezos expedition reported a triumphant success as components from several F-1 engines were raised from the ocean's depths in 2013. The journey to recover these engines was an extraordinary one, fraught with challenges. The engines had been submerged nearly 3 miles, or 5 kilometers, below the ocean's surface, rendering them inaccessible to human divers. So, to overcome this, remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, were employed, remotely controlled from the surface. The operation was spearheaded by a team experienced in underwater exploration and salvage, including Rory Golden, who previously worked for Dr. Robert Ballard in locating the infamous Titanic wreck. The massive size and weight of the F-1 engines added complexity to the recovery effort. Each fully assembled F-1 engine measures 19 feet, or 6 meters, from nozzle to fuel inlets, and weighs approximately 20,000 pounds, or 9,072 kilograms. The passage of time and exposure to seawater had caused corrosion and brittleness in these historic relics, requiring careful handling and expertise during recovery. It's important to note that precisely identifying which Apollo missions these engines originated from has proven challenging. The original serial numbers on many components are either missing or partially damaged. These serial numbers were used to track each major component of an F-1 engine through the manufacturing process. Deciphering the remaining serial numbers will help determine the engine's historical context. Bezos' ambitious plan for these rescued engine components includes their restoration and eventual display in a museum-quality setting. He wishes to present the engines to the world in a manner that captures their incredible journey, including their re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere at speeds of up to 5,000 miles per hour, 8,050 kilometers per hour, and their subsequent impact with the ocean's surface. These engines will stand as an enduring testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of exploration. 4. Drinkable champagne from the Baltic Sea. In 2010, divers exploring a shipwreck on the Baltic seabed stumbled upon a remarkable discovery: a trove of 30 champagne bottles that were believed to date back to a time before the French Revolution. The bottles, found off the coast of Åland, an autonomous part of Finland, were in remarkably well-preserved condition. One of the bottles, whose distinctive shape indicated it was produced in the 18th century, was opened, and to the divers' astonishment, the wine inside was still good. The bottle's contents are thought to be the work of Clicquot, now known as Veuve Clicquot, between 1782 and 1788. If confirmed, this would be the oldest drinkable champagne in the world. The remarkable taste was described as having a sweet flavor with hints of oak and a distinct tobacco aroma. And amazingly, small bubbles were still present in the aged beverage. Cliquot champagne was first produced in 1772, but was laid down for a decade. However, the production was disrupted following the French Revolution in 1789. The bottles discovered on the seabed have been perfectly preserved, thanks to the dark and cold conditions below the water's surface. These extraordinary circumstances have kept the champagne from spoiling, providing a unique window into the past. The discovery of champagne bottles from the 1780s surpasses the previous record holder, a bottle of Perrier Jouet from 1825, by nearly 4 decades. Wine experts estimate that each of these bottles could fetch around 500,000 Swedish kronor, or around $69,000 at auction. And as a result, the finding has raised significant interest in the world of collectors and connoisseurs, who anticipate that the remaining bottles could also command high prices at auctions. The local authorities will decide what to do with the shipwreck and the champagne. It's an exceptional find, offering a glimpse into the history of winemaking and the world of luxury beverages from a time long past. This discovery adds a new chapter to the fascinating story of aged and preserved libations. 3. The Ghost Fleet of the Potomac. The serene waters of Mallows Bay on the lower Potomac River have a fascinating secret hidden beneath their surface. Approximately 200 shipwrecks, known as the Ghost Fleet of the Potomac. These sunken vessels, spanning over 3 centuries of American shipbuilding, are now a part of the Mallows Bay Potomac River National Marine Sanctuary, which was designated in 2019 by the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. This sanctuary represents the first of its kind within the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and the first designated sanctuary in nearly 2 decades. The Ghost Fleet of the Potomac mainly consists of ships dating back to World War I. The United States Shipping Board initiated a rapid shipbuilding program in response to the U-boat threat, with the Emergency Fleet Corporation overseeing the construction of steel, concrete, and wooden ships across the nation. However, the effort faced numerous challenges, leading to only 98 ships being delivered out of the 734 that were ordered. And by the war's end, these ships were considered uneconomical and were sold for scrap, with many of them finding their way to Mallows Bay. The Western Marine and Salvage Company, based in Alexandria, Virginia, purchased most of these ships for salvage. Then, in 1925, they made the controversial decision to burn 31 of these ships, marking the most substantial destruction of ships in U.S. history. But when the Great Depression hit, the company abandoned the project, leaving the remaining hulls for local scavengers to pick apart. World War II renewed interest in the Ghost Fleet, though, with Bethlehem Steel Corporation tasked with recovering any remaining metal. The salvage effort continued until 1945, with the salvage material supporting the war effort. But after the war, the fleet gradually faded into obscurity. In the 1960s, however, when a company named Idemont Inc. acquired the land and aimed to remove the remaining ships for development, the ecological importance of the fleet came to light. A government committee declared the removal unnecessary, and the Ghost Fleet has since become an invaluable habitat for various species. Now, the Ghost Fleet of the Potomac is a unique natural habitat, offering excellent opportunities for exploration, scientific research, and heritage tourism. Located just 40 miles or 64.4 kilometers south of Washington, D.C., it's become a haven for outdoor enthusiasts, birdwatchers, and anglers. In 2014, a nomination was submitted to the NOAA to consider Mallows Bay a national marine sanctuary, ensuring its protection and sustainable tourism development. The sanctuary's designation aims to preserve these culturally and historically significant wrecks, celebrating their transformation into thriving ecosystems below and above the water's surface. 2. The Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism, an extraordinary artifact hailed as the world's oldest known analog computer, lies shrouded in the mystique of its deep-sea discovery. Recovered from the depths off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera in 1901, this exceptional ancient Greek hand-powered orrery, or a model of the solar system, has captivated the imagination of archaeologists, scientists, and historians for over a century. The mechanism was initially discovered by a team of sponge divers from Symi Island, led by Captain Dimitrios Kontos. The device was found during an expedition with the Hellenic Royal Navy sometime between 1900 and 1901. Amid the remnants of a Roman cargo ship that came to rest at a depth of 148 feet, or 45 meters, off Point Glyphadia, the divers brought a treasure trove of antiquities up to the surface, including bronze and marble statues, pottery, unique glassware, jewelry, coins, and of course, the enigmatic mechanism. However, this marvel, composed of a combination of corroded bronze and wood, went largely unnoticed for 2 years as museum staff focused on the more visually prominent artifacts. The exact journey of the mechanism to the cargo ship remains a mystery. Today, the Antikythera mechanism is housed at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, where it's been subjected to rigorous conservation and study efforts. The device, once a single lump, is now separated into 82 fragments. And of these fragments, 4 seem to contain intricate gears, while many others feature inscriptions. The largest gear, measuring about 5 inches or 13 centimeters in diameter and originally possessing 223 teeth, played a pivotal role in this ancient mechanical wonder. Research and analysis have unveiled the remarkable functions of the Antikythera mechanism. It boasts 37 interlocking bronze gears, enabling it to track the movements of celestial bodies like the moon and the sun through the zodiac. Its capabilities extended to predicting eclipses and modeling the irregular orbit of the moon. And in recent years, inscriptions on the mechanism have been further deciphered, revealing numerical data linked to the synodic cycles of Venus and Saturn. Dating the device has been a subject of debate, with suggested years ranging from 205 BC to 87 BC. But a proposal in 2022 suggests that the initial calibration date could be as early as December 23, 178 BC. Regardless of its exact date of creation, the Antikythera mechanism represents a marvel of ancient engineering and astronomical knowledge, awaiting visitors at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. It's showcased with reconstructions and replicas that offer a glimpse into how this incredible device may have looked and worked. 1. Pavlopetri, the world's oldest submerged city. Pavlopetri, often referred to as the world's oldest submerged city, rose from obscurity in 2011 when the BBC unveiled this remarkable archaeological site to the world. Nestled between the island of Elefonisos and Punta Beach in southern Laconia, Pavlopetri remained hidden beneath the waves for millennia until its incredible story was unveiled. The journey to Pavlopetri's discovery began in 1904, when geologist Fokion Negri reported the presence of an ancient city beneath the seabed in this location. However, it wasn't until 1967 that Dr. Nicholas Fleming, an oceanographer from the University of Southampton, brought this submerged city to the attention of the scientific community. Dr. Fleming's visit to the sunken city revealed its existence in waters just 10 to 13 feet, 3 to 4 meters deep. In 1968, Dr. Nicholas Fleming returned to Pavlopetri, accompanied by a group of young archaeologists from the University of Cambridge. And in collaboration with Professor Angelos Delivorius, they meticulously mapped and dated this remarkable underwater city. Their investigations unearthed a rare prehistoric residential town, featuring numerous buildings, streets, and even squares. The evidence suggested that Pavlopetri was initially inhabited around 2800 BC, while the buildings and streets predominantly dated back to the Mycenaean period, from between 1680 and 1180 BC. Several theories surround the submergence of Pavlopetri. Some scientists speculate that it succumbed to the wrath of an earthquake with a magnitude of 8. which has been estimated to have occurred around 1000 BC. However, alternative estimates place the earthquake much later, around 375 AD. In 2007, Dr. John Henderson and Dr. Chrysanthi Frenchman from the University of Nottingham embarked on an archaeological mission to Pavlopetri. Working in collaboration with Elias Spondylis, the director of the Ephorate of Underwater Antiquities, they undertook a 5-year research program focused on Pavlopetri's dating and historical significance. And amazingly, their efforts uncovered an impressive 15 buildings, each containing at least 12 rooms. Additionally, the team revealed a complex water management system, complete with canals and water pipes. For enthusiasts of underwater archaeology, Pavlopetri is a remarkable destination. The city's architectural remnants can be clearly seen at a depth of just 10 feet, 3 meters, offering a unique glimpse into a hidden world that existed approximately 5,000 years ago. Pavlopetri lies in the region of Laconia, in the Peloponnese, and can be reached by a 4-hour drive from Athens, or a 2.5-hour journey from Kalamata International Airport. And for those fascinated by history and archaeology, Pavlopetri offers a compelling narrative of an ancient civilization that's been buried beneath the sea for millennia, brought to light by dedicated researchers and explorers. Which of these submerged treasures would you like to see with your own eyes? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.